Well, live, we're back here on Football 360. Just about running up here quickly, just to touch on one thing. Like Nana said, there's a Congress coming up tomorrow, and it's important for us to look at it quickly. But I think the most important part of that we need to look at is also a bit of the injunctions that are flying around. Just heard that the Northern Regional, the elected Northern Regional Football Association chairman, there's an injunction on his swearing in. What's that about?
Well, on Friday I heard the news. I got a call that an injunction had been served on the Ghana Football Association to prevent them from swearing in Abdullah Al Hassan. I didn't believe it at the time. I went straight to the GFA. I met with the General Secretary, and I was able to get a copy of the documents so that I could pass them on to his lawyer. I understand that Tadia Sori will be representing the GFA because it's an injunction against the GFA. So it wasn't
specifically for him, but it was for the FA?
It's for the FA to stop them from swearing in Abdullah Al Hassan. Okay. And I mean, the case is a case that was heard at the appeals committee. Alhaji Adam Munkaila is saying that though Abdullah Al Hassan is playing football currently, and that in particular his key thing is that the clubs that endorsed Abdullah Al Hassan, where they were supposed to write their designation, i.e. whether they're the secretary, the coach or whatever, they misunderstood that and put where they lived. Now we've been through this. I mean, look, we've been through this at the appeal stage, and at the end of the day the appeal dismissed his case and said, look, the man's legitimate. He should be able to stand. There's nothing in your case that warrants saying that this man should be just cleared off. Because there are other people who were just wiped off like that as well for their other incumbents. And so we had the election. He lost the election. Abdullah Al Hassan won the election with a 19-vote margin. And so what was the problem? His agent signed everything saying it was free and fair. I was the agent on the day. I signed everything saying it's free and fair. And now we've gone to court. But I think it's frivolous, and I think it demonstrates that Alhaji Adam Munkaila, he's one of the people that perhaps you're referring to. He's there for his own selfish parochial gains. Because he's been there 21 years. You're in your 60s. It's time to play with grandchildren, and you want to tussle with a 30-year-old boy about whether or not he should be chairman for the Northern Regional Football Association. It's absolutely diabolical.
He's been there for 20 years? Is that what he said?
21 years.
21 years, wow.
21 years. Absolutely diabolical.
Anyway, so that's the story on the Congress. So what actually means is that you're still not too sure whether that Congress will come on tomorrow.
No, Congress will come on tomorrow.
But the swearing you're not...
The swearing in of one elected chairperson
is what will
not take place.
Wow. Anyway.
The case is on Friday the 13th, actually.
The power of the courts, they say. Anyway, wish you all the best tomorrow. In terms of the FA, they have the Congress tomorrow. The elected executives will be sworn in tomorrow, except for
they'll set the date for the commencement of the 2015-2016.
I'm not sure they'll do that tomorrow. That's a different matter. They may not do that tomorrow.
Quickly, I've got to run. Over the weekend, huge games across Europe. There were big derbies today. Spurs took on Arsenal Football Club in the late kickoff game today. Crystal Palace also took on Liverpool at Anfield. But the big one yesterday was Chelsea being beaten by Stoke in the late kickoff game. It is the big one because these days the Chelsea problems continue every weekend. Over the last week, they won 2-1 against Dynamo Kiev in the Champions League game. People were hoping that they'll continue winning ways, but unfortunately, they lost to Stoke 1-0. We've got the highlights of that particular game, and we'll come back to the studio to do the discussions.
Stoke straight onto the attack, regaining possession from Chelsea's start, and looking threatening. Good effort by one of those. Pedro one side, Willian is there too. It's Willian who he picks out. The Brazilian plays it on, and Chelsea miss a wonderful opportunity to hit Stoke on the break. Ramirez with the hazard. And that looked like a foul. Chelsea are convinced they should have had a free kick there. They played on and they won the ball back thanks to Matic. On to Pedro, who's switched over to the left-hand side now. Not the best ball, but it's come out again to Ramirez. Terrific save, and what a good effort by Ramirez.
Yes, it was. Said he made a couple of bad decisions earlier with the way he tried to stop it going in that corner.
Boyan, Shaqiri, and Johnson, his target, and he's found him with a lovely ball, and the pullback gives real danger here, and they've scored! Arnautovic, who's hardly had a kick, has given Stoke City the lead!
Instant reaction to fall back on his left shoulder and put an overhead volley in. That's fantastic. Great moment for Stoke, great moment for Mark Hughes. Plays the ball out to Willan. There's lots of space. For the first time it opened up nicely. He does everything very nearly 100% correct. Beats the goalkeeper. Ball ends up but not the post. And Chelsea.
And on the attack again with Costa. Played through to Remy! Well, what does the referee give here? Because the goalkeeper's challenge on Remy caused the player to stumble when he was in a really good position.
Yeah, and Willian hasn't gone appealing for, or Remy hasn't gone appealing. Hazard again, the one trying to find the way through. Might have hit it first time, perhaps.
Referee's had a look at the watch. And there's the final whistle.
Well, live back here on Football 360. We're having discussions here in the studio. Chelsea tend to amaze everybody these days with some of their results. There's this funny story that goes around that they tend to win once every month. And last month they won once. This month they've won once. That's the Dynamo Kiev game. So they might just not win a game until the month ends. Well, do you think that will happen?
Oh, no, I don't think
Why?
so. I don't know. I have a feeling that they'll find a way of going through.
That's what we keep on saying.
They played Norwich at the bridge after the international.
They play
break.
Bournemouth.
They play Bournemouth
at the bridge
also,
as well.
At the bridge also. So, in as much as results are not coming in, I'm beginning to see improvement in performances, and that's very key. When you look at Chelsea's performance 4 games ago, and you look at their performance 2 games ago, there's a vast difference. You tend to see that players want to do more. For the very first time this season, in the game against Stoke, I saw Hazard play, and he played very well. A lot of Chelsea's problems came through him, because last season he was by far the best player in the league, and everything went through him and ended on his feet. If he's able to produce this kind of performance, you can only believe that it will get better for the team. You saw Baba Rahman, and we're making a point about Baba Rahman, and I'm sure you have your own view, but I felt that for a 21-year-old who was playing only his 3rd game in the league, coming up against an experienced fox like Xandan Shaqiri, he needed a bit more cover from the defensive unit, and he didn't get that.
Yeah, but I felt, I mean, I don't want to blame him. Too many people are just there blaming him. I'm not into the blame game with him. Look, he got caught blindside. He was the wrong side. It's quite clear. But it happens week in, week out. It's not just happening to Baba Rahman. It happens week in, week out, and clubs get punished on that basis.
That's right.
You only score. How do you score goals? Something spectacular, you know, an act of brilliance or a mistake. It's simple. That's how goals come. So someone's got to make a mistake for a goal to be scored. He was caught blindside. The club was punished because John Terry, he doesn't have confidence. The entire back four, the entire team don't have confidence, right? So they got punished. That's the end of it. It's not a Baba Rahman thing.
Okay.
It's a Chelsea thing.
So Chelsea is struggling. That's the bottom line. They are struggling. The team is struggling. Like Rahman said, they had pretty much a good game yesterday. For once, you saw Chelsea stringing their passes together. They were in total control of the game, especially in the first half. Even the second half, even after the goal, they seem to have a lot more control of the game. But they are very low on confidence. They are unable to score goals. And a little glitch at the back means they are punished. And as their own coach would say, this time we're not lucky. Anytime we get... We mess up, we get really punished. So that's a story from Chelsea. Quickly, we'll move on to Liverpool. They lost against Crystal Palace this evening. It seemed to have been the fact that the Klopp mania was working. They didn't lose a game until this evening. They drew about 3 of them, and they won 1, or they won 2. They won against Chelsea, 1 against Rubin Kazan for the week.
By far, their best performance was against Chelsea. And I tend to ask myself that everybody's beating Chelsea these days. So if you play your best game against Chelsea, it's nothing. they were brought down to earth by Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
It tells you the level at which Chelsea have dropped. They beat Chelsea by 3-1.
Yeah.
And they were beaten at Anfield today by Crystal Palace.
That's right.
So if you do the whole numbers...
But it was so, actually, for Crystal Palace, Crystal Palace, West Ham, they are teams that have seemed to play the big boys at some very high level this season.
Yeah, but Crystal Palace is a team that, when they're at home, yes. When they're away, it's a bit more difficult than that. And, you know, I watched this game. I was watching the game simultaneously. Actually, Avram was there as well. He was at the hotel.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't believe what was happening, because I felt that Liverpool were coming back and what have you. They're developing the confidence. They want to play for Klopp. You can see that quite clearly. He's very passionate, jumps all over the place when they do it at the back of the net. I couldn't understand how they just allowed Crystal Palace to just railroad them, just as simple as that, and they couldn't find any way back. And you wonder about the remaining fixtures.
They've got some pretty tough fixtures coming up. After the international break, they play Manchester City at the Etihad, so that's a huge game they need to prepare for. Quickly, we'll move to Spanish La Liga. Real Madrid losing this evening 3-2 to Sevilla, but Barcelona winning 3-0, and the Neymar-Suarez combination seems to be working perfectly in the absence of Messi.
Well, it clearly tells everybody a good message. In the absence of a king, another king is born. A lot of people do not feel that Barca could play with such swiftness and fluidity in the absence of Messi. But in the absence of Messi, Suarez is banging and Neymar is looking as if he's on cloud 9. And that's what football is all about. I think that it's better for you when everything starts and ends with you. You dictate the tempo of the game. And that's what happened to Suarez at Liverpool. So when you come into a club that ideally balls that should have come to you end up to another person, you mostly tend to think that, okay, so am I doing the right thing? And the same thing with Gareth Bale. When he was at Tottenham Hotspur, a lot of the things started and ended with him. At Real Madrid, it's not him, it's Ronaldo. And that is the same scenario. I think Barca is a very solid side, with or without Messi. Messi is he's a different player. He's able to turn on to games. But for me, I really think that without Messi, Barca will still do very well.
Saw that goal, the name of goal.
Wow.
It was a good goal.
Wow. So it's called Santa Maria. That was a pretty beautiful goal.
It's a very good goal.
Very good goal. Guys, thanks a lot for coming through.
Thanks, Nichi.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. So this has been another edition of Your Football 360. We say you have a wonderful week. We'll see you the same time. Join Thierry Nyan tomorrow morning to see all the highlights from the English Premiership, the Spanish La Liga, German Bundesliga, and all the highlights across the world of sports. Bye-bye and have a wonderful week.